Hey guys, this is God of Politics, and welcome back to a brand new video. But before we get started with this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But in today's video, I do want to talk about the state of Texas, answering the question of will it go blue anytime soon in the 2024 election, in the 2028 election, or farther into the future? Do Democrats have a future in a state that is growing in population and now has the second biggest electoral vote margin at 38 currently, and it's going to be going up to 41. If you want to see a video about the electoral vote changes, you can check out my video, which was posted yesterday, which does talk about that. But here we can see the 2012 election in the state of Texas, and we can see that Mitt Romney won by almost 16 percentage points here. He won 57.2% to 41.4%. You can see he did very well in the suburban areas, and he did well in the rural areas too, as any Republican in Texas does in recent memory. But you look at a lot of these the suburban areas, and Mitt Romney did insanely well. You look at Collin County, he won by 32 percentage points. Denton County, he won by 32 percentage points. Tarrant County, he won by 16 percentage points. You compare that to the 2020 election, and you see some very drastic changes. You saw that Collin County went to Mitt Romney by 32 percentage points. Now it only went to Donald Trump by 4.4 percentage points. Denton County, around 35 percentage points, went to Donald Trump by only 8 percentage points. Tarrant County went to Mitt Romney by 17, went to Joe Biden by 0.2 percentage points. Those are double-digit shifts in all three of these counties, plus Dallas County. Dallas County was won by Joe Biden by 31 percentage points. If you go back to 2012, it was only won by Obama by 16 percentage points. So that's another double-digit shift in these four counties, and there's other counties too that had double-digit shifts, some in just this election alone. But it is showing you how the suburbs really did shift this election, and I predicted that the suburbs would shift. I knew they would shift to the left because that's the indication that we'd seen in 2018. That's the indication we'd seen in 2016. We knew Trump was a bad candidate for the suburbs. It was showing up in the polls, and it ended up coming true. And the suburban trend to the left actually outperformed my expectations, and it was very crazy to see that. You look at these counties in many cases, you see Tarrant County trended 9 points left, Dallas County trended 6 points left, Denton 12, Collin 12, Ellis 11, and that's very insane to see that they trended that much to the left. It was the same story in Georgia, same story in suburban areas of Kansas, suburban areas of Missouri, all across the country. The suburbs trended to the left, and the suburbs do control much of the state's population, because if we do look at the size of the lead, we can see here that the largest red dots do come from the suburban areas. Sure, you have some other dots out here, but these are areas that do have cities in them, and they're areas that actually trended blue. You look at the dot here in Lubbock County, and you see that Lubbock County trended 6 points Dem. You look at the dot here in Randall County, and you see that this is a county that trended 6 points Dem. So the urban areas, the areas with greater populations, are the areas that are trending towards the Democrats, where you see, these are areas where Donald Trump got 80% of the vote, yet it barely has any population, and Trump is not netting many votes out of that. Sure, combined together, it makes somewhat of a difference, but really most of the votes that the Republican Party gets are from this area around the Dallas-Fort Worth area and the area around the Houston area. Their biggest dot in terms of the size of their vote lead was in Montgomery County, which they won by over 100,000 votes, and this county also trended 7 points to the Democratic Party. But one thing that is very clear from this Texas map is that the Rio Grande Valley, this is the Rio Grande Valley down here, but all of the areas along the border here, and just these generally more Hispanic areas, did trend very hard to the right. You look at some of these counties. Starr County, 55 points to the right. Joe Biden still won the county by 5 percentage points, but if you want to go back to 2016, Starr County voted for Hillary Clinton by, some ridiculous, over 60 percentage points. That, again, that's an absolutely insane shift to see. But then you look at the population of Starr County, and what's the population of Starr County? Well, it had about 17,000 votes, probably has around 30,000 people, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. And then you look at a county that trended 12 points to the left, a county like Collin County, which has over 300 or almost 500,000 votes in this election. It was a big turnout increase, and that definitely helped Joe Biden. So again, there's been a lot of talk, well, Texas is going to stay Republican because Trump improved with Hispanics, and that's a sign that the Republicans overall are improving with Hispanics. Well, that's not necessarily the case. For example, if we go back to 2004, this is a very old website, but this is the 2004 exit polls from the state of Texas. We can see here Latinos, which made up 20% of the electorate in 2004, were won by John Kerry by just 1 percentage point here. That is an absolutely ridiculous number. Sure, George Bush won the state easily. He was from Texas, and he won the election in 2004. He did well in Texas, and he did well across the country, sure. But Kerry only won Hispanic voters by 1 percentage point. Flash forward to 2020, you can see here, Joe Biden did worse with Latino voters, but we can see here that he still won Latinos by 16 percentage points. So we look at the shift from 2016 to 2020. We go to the 2016 exit polls. We can see here that Hillary Clinton won Hispanic voters by 27 percentage points. Joe Biden won them by 17 percentage points. That was a 10% shift to the right. And of course, the exit polls can still be inaccurate, but it still does beg the question, how is it only a 10% shift to the right when we're seeing, these 55-point swings down in the Rio Grande Valley? Well, the answer is you didn't see 55-point swings in every area that has Hispanic voters. For example, if you look at Harris County, if we do go over to Harris County, Joe Biden won Harris County easily. If you go back to 2012, Barack Obama only won Harris County by 0.1 percentage points. You flash forward to 2016, and Hillary Clinton won it by around 13 percentage points. This time, Joe Biden again won it by around 13 percentage points. It only had a 1% shift to the left. And it does have a lot of suburbs, Harris County. It does encompass a lot of the Houston area and the surrounding suburbs. And so the reason that Joe Biden didn't improve as much in Houston as he did in other of these areas, which are whiter, is because there's more Latino voters in these areas. And the Latino voters did trend rightward in Texas. And they did not trend 55 points rightward like they did in the Rio Grande Valley, but they still did trend rightward, and that made a difference in areas like Harris County, and it was a reason that Joe Biden wasn't able to win the state, and he wasn't able to get as close as some people had thought. I thought that Donald Trump would win the state by around 3 percentage points. He won it by 5.5 percentage points. That's a 2.5% difference because of the fact that, I underestimated the Hispanic trend towards the Republican Party in this election. But, the Hispanic swing was uneven. In some areas, it trended very far to the right, and in some areas, it trended a little bit less to the right. Maybe the exit polls are, wrong, which I can definitely see them being wrong. Maybe, Joe Biden didn't win them by that much. Maybe they trended a little bit more than 10 points to the right. But the point still stands that Donald Trump improved with Hispanic voters, but Joe Biden still did win the Hispanic voters. And so this isn't really indicative of an overall shift because, again, if you want to look at the 2012 exit polls, Barack Obama won Hispanic voters here by 28 percentage points, which is more than what Hillary Clinton won them by in 2016. And so they still do vote overwhelmingly Democratic because you look at the shift from 2004 to 2008. George Bush was from Texas. He did perform very well in Texas, and that's part of the reason why he did so well with Hispanics, but he did well with Hispanics nationwide, and then Barack Obama comes along and does very well with Hispanic voters. So I see this as more of being a weakness of Joe Biden. You want to look back at the 2020 Democratic primary. Bernie Sanders spent 4 years making inroads with Latino voters. He did very well with them in the Nevada caucus, and Joe Biden just did not make the outreach necessary to be able to win those Hispanic voters, and it had trouble for him in the general election. You can look at the early warning signs of this that were there in the primary. Miami-Dade turnout was very low in the Democratic primary back in March or early April. I believe it was March 17th, and that there was early warning signs for that as well. But part of it could be you seeing a working class trend of non-college educated voters that are working class that are trending a little bit to the right, and I can see that with Hispanic voters. But overall, Hispanic voters are still going to be Democratic voters. But again, it still, most of those votes that the Republican Party is getting are from these whiter areas in the suburbs and exurbs. So gaining with Hispanic voters, does anybody really believe that Republicans can continue to gain with Hispanic voters after you've had a very, very terrible candidate for Hispanic voters in Joe Biden? And, these shifts were very big, but who's to say that they won't just revert back? Because, you look at the Senate election, Democrats did, definitely worse than they should have, but they did better in the Rio Grande Valley. You look at the House candidates, they did worse than they should have, but they still did better than Joe Biden. So Republicans banking on winning Hispanic voters in the future to be able to keep Texas is not the trend that I do see. But then that's the first talking point, to say that Texas is not going to go blue. The next talking point I do see for why Texas won't go blue is, the suburbs are going to reverse their trend, and the trend is just because of Trump. Well, the trend isn't just because of Trump, because, we can look at these results here. The House results. Out of 36 districts, Democrats won 13 of them. And that's, in part due to a lot of gerrymandering. You can see that there are, out of 13 seats the Democrats have, only 3 of them were won by under 10 percentage points. And those were districts that were made to be Republican districts that eventually trended to the left. Whereas if you look at the 26 Republican districts, 7 of them are under 10 percentage points. We can see the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. We can also look at the 10th. We can look at the 6th. And we can look at, there is one more, the 31st as well. So all of those seats were under 10 percentage points, and that's because of the gerrymandering that we did see. You also have the 2nd district, which did trend to the left as well, but you do have a good candidate in Dan Crenshaw, who was able to win by 13 percentage points. But there is a lot of gerrymandering in Texas, and that's the reason the Democrats only have 13 districts. But if you want to look at the popular vote, the Democrats got the closest in the Texas House of Representatives, the United States House of Representatives from Texas. They got the closest in the popular vote since 2006, which was a huge wave year. This was around a D+3 electorate, and they won, the Republicans won Texas by 9 percentage points. Going back to 2006, which was around a D+8 electorate, I believe, you had the Republicans winning the Texas House popular vote by 8 percentage points. You go back to 2018, you can see that, it was a blue wave year, obviously excluding 2018, because 2018 was a blue wave year, with just recently that happened, but you had lower real turnout, things like that. But you also, it was 3.4 percentage points then. You go back to 2016, you had a 20 percentage point difference. You go back to 2014, it was 27 percentage points. Go back to 2012, it was a 19 percentage points. 2010, I know it had different districts, but the point still stands. It was a 34 percentage point difference. So you can clearly see, going on a district-by-district basis, that the congressional districts are closer as well. So not only was it closer at the presidential level with Donald Trump, it was closer at the congressional level, and it was closer at the Senate level. You look at John Cornyn, he won in a landslide back in 2014. He won by just under 10 percentage points this time. You can look at these individual districts too. For example, you look at the 2nd congressional district, which was won by Mitt Romney by, almost 30 percentage points, 27 percentage points, only won by Donald Trump by 1 percentage point this election. That's a 26% shift. You can look at the 3rd congressional district, which in 2012 was won by Mitt Romney by 29 percentage points. Again, this time only won by Donald Trump by 1 percentage point. That's a 28 percentage point shift. That's in Plano, Texas, which is the Dallas suburbs in Collin County. You can look at an area like the 7th congressional district, which is now held by Lizzie Fletcher. As I noted, this is one of the districts that went to Mitt Romney by 21 percentage points in 2016, but went to Joe Biden by 9 percentage points. That's a 30-point shift. That's in the wider area of Harris County. So you're seeing these huge shifts at the congressional district level, and these races were closer at the presidential level, and they were closer at the congressional district level. A district that was won by Donald Trump, by Mitt Romney, by Mitt Romney by 29 percentage points, is now held by a Democrat who won very easily this election. So, you're seeing this shift at the suburban level, at all levels of government, whereas you're seeing the Hispanic shift at, not all levels of government. Because sure, the Hispanic areas did shift in the congressional district races. They did not shift anywhere near the level where they did at the presidential race. And so, whereas if you look at the suburban shift for the congressional races versus the presidential race, the congressional races shifted almost as much as they did on the presidential race. So that's, another thing to note. And I know this video is turning out to be quite long, but there is just a lot to talk about. So, summarizing these overall points, the suburban areas are shifting to the left. The Hispanic voters are still with the Democratic Party, and I don't see them trending rightward in the long term. So overall, that does give you a formula which gives Democrats a quite good, plan for the future in winning in Texas. A 15-point shift that we've seen in 8 years is a very big shift. People do underestimate that, and trends do take time in the state of Texas. So if I had to make a guess of when Democrats would win Texas, I would say 2024 is a stretch. I don't think it's going to be that possible unless Democrats, maybe Trump runs again and keeps the suburbs trending left, and you have Joe Biden, maybe even Kamala Harris, who were able to win back a lot of these Latino areas and do better, particularly in the Latino areas in Harris County. Maybe they could win Texas, but I see a more realistic scenario being 2028. I think that's a year that Democrats could win the state of Texas for the first time since 1976. If you have anything else to say about the state of Texas, you disagree with me, leave it down in the comments. I will respond to all the comments because I do love to hear what you guys do have to say. But anyway, thank you all for watching this video. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But again, guys, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys later.